have the opportunity to learn something new? Did you put love in that new stuff that you learned this week? I hope you have done it, because when you do everything with love, everything changes. And welcome again to Glory Learn. Thank you for giving you a chance to learn something new today. So today's topic is learning difficulties. How many of you have been struggled when learning processes? I'm pretty sure that many of us have been having some difficulties while learning. So today I'll share with you the main reasons I found when I realized that I have to learn something, or in the process where I'm learning. But before to start, I would like to remind you our main topic, our concept that we are talking about in the channel, that it's learning. So, any of you remember what is the concept of learning? Okay, if you don't, I put it here. So, the concept of learning is an active process of combining new information with old information. In this case, we are going to be focused just on this first part. Active process of combining information, new with old. So, in general, people tend to assume that learning is a complicated process that not many are able to deal with. In that case, it's better to avoid learning something instead of let themselves increase their current knowledge, just because we don't really want to be involved in any bad experience or feel any uncomfortability. So this is the process of learning. In this case, as being an active process that is always continuous, means that learning implies changes or modification in the current knowledge. In this case, in every area where we acquire new information, is the principal aspect which our brain always tries to avoid, because it prefers not to be disturbed. It prefers continue working with the current knowledge that it has. And this means less effort for our brain, for our body, for ourselves. But related to this, have you ever noticed that there are some stuff that are easier than others? Or have you ever thought what are the reasons why we consider some things easier than others? Okay, on my personal experience, I have to say that I found four main general aspects that I consider on learning processes. And even if learning could be influenced by numerous factors, I would like to share with you just those four aspects that I generally consider. So the first one is the reason. Why are you doing it? Why do you have to learn something, or why do you want it? Even if it's a new language, skill, ability, sport, or maybe a new activity on your daily life, why are you trying to get that new information into your daily life? What is the reason? But you have to be clear, because maybe the conditions push us to learn something, because we have to be involved in a new group of people, new group of friends, or maybe you change your job and you have to deal with the new environment. I don't know. But what happens when you try to learn something just because it's the trending activity, because all your friends are learning it? Be careful when you get the reason why you learn something. When you have that reasons really clear, it's a moment that you have to think about what kind of information are you getting. In that case, I divided into 4 different levels. So the first one is when the information is completely new. So you don't have any information about it. You don't have the basics. So you have to be conscious that if you want to be involved in this new activity, you have to learn since the beginning without any information. But maybe it's an activity that it's in the second level that you have barely new information. So maybe before you were being involved in that kind in activities related to this new ability, or maybe you tried to practice before but you never get really into that activity. So it's not really new information, but at least you have to know that you have to practice in order to be proficient at some point. But in that case, it's another level, that is when you have the basis. Maybe you are dealing with this new ability for some time, but now you need to boost it. You need to improve it. You need to get more information. You need to practice more in order to make another step. In that case, is just for improve. That most of the time could be more difficult because maybe you have done it for a while and you know how does it work. But maybe to boost it a bit, sometimes it's a bit difficult. But if your reasons are really clear, for sure you can do it. But there is another level that maybe you have done this activity before, but for any reason you decided to put it aside, so you didn't practice anymore. So you have to relearn what you have done it before. Maybe it was a sport, a language, an ability, maybe cooking a dish, could be. But be careful on what kind of information are you dealing with, because in this case it's really important to know this aspect in order to get the best resources to improve. And this is the other part, how you will apply this new information on your life. How much time are you spending learning this new ability? And again, I put 4 levels. At the beginning, it's just to do it because some of your friends are doing it, so I do it when they invite you, or you do it when you remember, but actually you're not really interested because your goals are not really clear. But what happens when you know that you want to do it and you actually set some time on your schedule, but just on your free time? But actually, we have to be really clear with ourselves, because nowadays we live in a hurry society. So most of the time we don't have free time. And be careful, because if you don't have much free time, maybe you don't have much time to improve your new skills. But what happens if you improve that new knowledge on your daily life activities? Maybe you notice that going to your job take you around half hour or 1 hour, I don't know, and while you are driving or while you are on the public transport, you are listening audiobooks, or maybe you are reading, or maybe you are trying to remember that information that you want to get it. And this is a really, really good stuff. But the highest level is when you decided to set a specific time for that activity. Monday to Friday at 5 o'clock, when I finish my job, when I have some free time, but I know that if I have or I don't have free time, I set this time specifically just for this new ability. So when you are clear with your goals, when you know what kind of information you are dealing with, and you set the time, also it's pretty important to know how you will do it, because it's not the same getting by yourself that new information that ask for a professional, because sometimes the cost in money could be a bit high, because the professional, of course, have passed these difficulties that you are suffering at the beginning. But in that time, a professional is able to lead you on the right path in order to reach your goals. So could be a good reason, but also you can watch YouTube videos or listen podcasts. It depends on the ability that you want to learn. You can do it. Now we have lots of resources to use it. Or maybe you can download an app to learn any new language, or be involved in a Facebook group to talk in other languages. I don't know. There are many, many ways. But if you decided whatever that is better for you, it's also really, really important to remember our last topic from the last week. What is the emotion that you are putting to in this new activity, in this new information? Are you motivated? Do you really want to do it? Because as we saw, when we be involved in new situation with positive emotions, our motivation will be high, and even on difficulties, dealing with difficulties will be much easier to deal with. Instead, if we are boring, if we are not really interested, or maybe you can say, oh, I know, today I had an absolutely bad day, so no, today I won't do it. So if you follow this behavior on the time, at the end you won't get all the information, all that skills that you want to get, because you are just stopping the process. So be careful. For example, I have two experiences where I can apply these four important aspects. So the first one, that is the funniest for me, it's cooking. When I move abroad, I realized that I have to deal with many situations, but I've never considered daily life situations. I've never lived alone. I've never been independent before to move abroad, so I never realized that I had to cook, I had to wash my clothes, I have to clean the place where I was living, and so I didn't know it. Okay, I know it, but I didn't realize that it would represent a really big challenge for me, you know? So cooking was my toughest stuff. So what was the reason that I have to do it? Because I have to. Because if I paid for already made food, it's really expensive. And also if I paid to anyone to do it for me, again, it's expensive. And my resources are not able to afford it. So I had to learn it. I need to cover that necessity. Then, what type of information was cooking for me? It was barely new information, because before, when I lived on my parents' house, I cooked, but rarely, sometimes special occasions, and that's it. So I knew how to use the kitchen, how to use some stuff, but I really didn't have enough information to cook properly, Then, when did I learn? When did I apply this new knowledge in my life? I just try to spend the less time as possible. So I try to cook just once a week. Once a week. So can you imagine? Eat the same thing during the whole week. It was completely boring, but for me it was better to eat the same instead of spend lots of time in the kitchen. But after the time passes, I realized that actually I'm not really bad at cooking. Even if it is still not my favorite activity, I realized that I can cook really good dishes and I like it. And now I can combine new ingredients. I use the oven, or I use the stove, or I use pan. I use different stuffs in the kitchen. So I'm quite interested right now because I know that I'm able to do it now. And how did I do it? I started just cook the same dishes that I knew when I was in my house, my parents' house. And then I watch YouTube videos for sure. But also I asked to many of my friends, what are you gonna cook for this week? Or what did you eat last week? Or something like that. So my knowledge gets bigger and bigger as the time passes. But at the beginning, my emotions, as we saw last week, were not really good. So when I had to cook, I was boring, I was stressed because as I said, I'm not really interested in spend lots of time in the kitchen. So my emotions are not the best, the most positive one. So at the beginning was boring, but at the end I realized that, as I told you, it was not too bad. So nowadays I spend at least 3 times per week cooking, or sometimes 4 or 5. Not every day, but I try to do it, to spend more time in the kitchen, because now I'm enjoying it. But in order to say that I like cooking, quite like, if I spent 2 years, almost 2 years, to say that I like cooking, and to say that even if I'm not the best chef, I can do really good dishes. But I spent 2 years. 2 years. Can you imagine? On the other hand, when I decided to learn an ability that I really wanted to do it, the scenario was completely different. In that case, was swimming. Since I was a child, I just wanted to go into a swimming pool and do the same that other children were doing, playing, swimming, going to the deepest part of the pool. But I just couldn't, because I didn't know how to swim, and I was really afraid of what could happen if I go there. I could die. I don't know. The sensation was horrible, terrifying, and it was because of that I realized that I wanted to learn. So when I decided, I was absolutely motivated. My emotions were always positive, and for me, swimming was completely new information. Completely, because I've never took any lesson before. I didn't know how to move my body into the water. So for me, it was completely new information. But even if my information was absolutely in zero, I've never stopped. I decided to put on my schedule Monday to Friday at least 2 hours per day 2 hours per day doing this activity. At the beginning, I started learning by YouTube videos, but I realized that actually I needed a professional next to me, a professional who can save my life if maybe I could, I don't know, make something wrong and put my life on risk. But I took just one lesson. I paid just for one lesson. And after that, I've never stopped. Every day I went to the pool, and doesn't matter the weather, doesn't matter my humor, doesn't matter if I had bad days or bad week, or maybe I don't know, anything matters, because I just wanted to get that goal, so I never stop. And do you know how much time did I spend until I reached that goal? Just 3 months. Last year on summer, I learned swimming. Can you imagine? Because I didn't. At the beginning I said, oh, what is happening? Oh my God, now I can swim. For sure, I'm not a professional swimmer. I can't compete for the gold medal. For sure I can't. But now I'm feel confident into the water. I'm really secure to get into and I feel completely confident. I don't know, the sensation is amazing. The sensation that all of my life dream to have it. But what's different? It's different when you decide to learn something because you have a strong reason, than learn something because you have to do it because anyone is telling you that you have to do it, or maybe because your environment push you to do it. Sometimes we have to do it, yes, but if you have to do it, put emotion, put love, put the best of you in order to reach that goal as fast as possible. Developing one's learning ability is easier said than done. I know, but just because I know it, how difficult could be, it's because now I encourage you to do it. Learning is a continuous process. Learning never stops. And we are learning all the time, every single moment in our life. But we have to let ourselves to get that new information into our brain. Doesn't matter our age, our experience, or what kind of activity, language, ability, or subject do you want to get. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you want to do it. I'm absolutely sure that many of you learned swimming when you were a child, and now you are thinking, oh my God, swimming is not difficult, come on. Have you been afraid for years? I know, but until I started when I started to apply that new information in my life, until I take action, I realized that was possible. I realized that I was able to do it. But you have to try it. You have to get that information into your daily life. Make the time works for you. And I know we are living in a busy society. I know. I'm really conscious about it. But if you want to develop any activity, any ability, skill, language, whatever you want, you can do it. You can make time for that, just if you have the correct structure. So never forget, what do you want to learn? Why? The reason always the reason make you to get the goal. What kind of information you are dealing with and how you are getting that information into your life. Please never stop learning. Let your brain to develop new skills, new abilities, and put in the comments what do you want to learn this week, or maybe what will be your next big challenge. For me, will be riding a bike, because I don't know, but when I set into my schedule, I promise that I will get that new goal. I will be really glad to read what were your big goals that you have reached and what would you want to get in the future. Thank you for spending your time with me. Please have an absolutely fabulous week and see you next week. Thank you for your time and never forget to smile.